Hello, Steve Arts 89. I've been sort of sharing experiences that I had when I was growing up and paranormal experiences and weird experiences. And one of the things that I sort of remember when I was growing up was we had horses and we kept them out on this property. We had like acres and acres of land, and there was like a beach and um, gravel pits and ponds and um, all these different areas and like sort of forests and a hill and like um, like a point with like a rocky beach on the other side, and we just spent a lot of time out there, and it was really beautiful. And one of the things that was out there was there used to be a house built out on the point, and we called it Point Effingham. I think that's what it was called. Or actually, no, Point Effingham was across from us, and Mum would always refer to Point Effingham, and I thought that's what that place was, and it actually was the place across the river. I found out later when I was looking on Google Maps and trying to sort of find out a bit more about it. And yeah, it was this old, at the foundation of the house, and there was just off to the side there was this old well that had been partially covered in. It was like covered in like fawn bushes, whatever. I'm not sure what the flowers were, but it was all fawns, and you couldn't really get in. You couldn't really see down into it, and it always sort of creeped me out. Like we used to sort of tell each other stories about, oh, there's someone down the bottom of the well that was thrown down there, and then they filled it in, and we just try to creep ourselves out, and sometimes you just sort of stand on this old sort of um, foundation that had been there for like hundreds of years, and just sort of imagine what it would have been like to sort of be standing there, and that's your house and that's your view looking out over the river, and you see like the old sailing boats passing down and stuff like that, and it was just kind of interesting and weird, and it was kind of cool to have that sort of to play in that little sort of space, like this old sort of foundation of a house. And sometimes we'd sort of dig around and find things like in the dirt that had been there for like excavating stuff and that. And eventually the brambles or whatever that was over the well kind of died, and we actually kind of moved them off, and we were able to look inside. And it may have been quite deep once, but it was mostly filled in with stuff and that. And um, it was still kind of creepy because we didn't know what was underneath it and that. But there was also another area further down around near the end of the sort of rocky sort of beach. There was a path you'd go down. There was two ways to get to this place, two paths, and it was just this open space, and there was like a couple of trees that had sort of broken apart and fallen apart and separated, and created this little space. And I always thought like it'd been struck by lightning because it looked like they just split in half. And there was another tree on the side, and it had this big long rope that had kind of like a noose tied on it, and it looked like a noose. And we'd sort of swing on it, and we sort of thought maybe it was a swing for kids, or the scariest story that we told ourselves was this is where they used to hang people back in the convict days, and the rope was left there and that. And I sort of picked that stuff to use, that area to use as a pet cemetery, because it looked like that sort of area that the pet cemetery was in, sort of a little bit. You go sort of down this path, and then you have this open space, and then there was all these trees that had fallen down that were behind it and that. And that's where we started burying our pets, like the pet cemetery in the film. And we buried our cats there, our dogs there. When dogs had puppies and they died, we buried them there. And they all had markers and all that at one point. And it looked very much like the cover of the 1980s Stephen King novel, which I tried to make it look like that. And it did have a very creepy energy about it. It always did when you went down and you saw this rope hanging there, and you sort of wondered what that was used for, and it just had this weird feeling. And then once you start burying animals there and had the memories of that and the sadness of that there, it just was really creepy. And a couple of times I went down there at night because my mum and that would be in winter like dealing the horses, and they just got there late, and we'd try and never be there after dark and leave before that. But sometimes we would be there, and I just would go down there at night, and it was really creepy to walk down in the woods in the night down to the pet cemetery. And you could hear sort of the water from down near the rocky beach and that, and it sounded like there was people, because you could always sort of hear things and stuff would sort of echo over the water and that, and it was just a really creepy space. And I just loved that I had that creepy space. I had my own pet cemetery, and like an abandoned cottage from, you know, like the convict times and stuff like that to play in when I was a kid, and it was just fun. I don't know, I just wanted to share that. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. You know, does anyone else sort of had that sort of environment to play in like that, where you sort of get to play in like the old ruins of an old house or something like that? I don't know, I thought it was interesting.